In this unit, we'll look at investigating an offense triggered by flows. Flows differ from events in that they represent communication between systems rather than a discrete event occurring on a single system. The objectives within this unit are to look at how we investigate flows, how to find them via the Network Activity tab, how to look at an offense that's been triggered by flows and investigate the details of each individual flow, as well as look at how you tune false positives and then the concept of the superflow. In this lesson, we'll look at how to view and group flows via the Network Activity tab. Flow analysis in QRadar is the process of investigating and analyzing network traffic to provide insights about the conversations occurring on our network. Information contained within a flow would have, for instance, source and destination IP addresses and ports, as well as statistics about size and number of packets exchanged. If we're relying on QFlow information, which is QRadar's own method of gathering flow data, we would also have insight into the actual applications being used on the network. Flow analysis derives from the advent of NetFlow. NetFlow was a protocol for analyzing metadata about communications on the network in the mid to late 90s. QRadar can consume NetFlow records natively from a variety of devices that will generate them, such as routers, switches, and even today IPS devices. Now, classic NetFlow data was simply metadata, IP addresses, port numbers, and information about packets. QRadar has a superset of NetFlow called QFlow, which basically takes a packet sniffing technology and actually expands the NetFlow record with information about the actual data being exchanged. And much like normalizing log record data, QRadar can then provide an application profile based on what has actually been observed on the network. To access the Forensics tab associated with flow analysis, we would go to the QRadar interface and select the Network Activity tab. The Network Activity tab allows us to search and go through all the various flow records that have been gathered throughout the QRadar system. Much like the Log Activity tab, where we're investigating actual system events, in this case, we're observing and looking at conversations occurring in our network. A couple of key points about this interface. You'll notice first packet time. First packet time is a column that shows the first time we've seen a packet associated with a flow was observed. You also then notice the source IP, source port, destination IP, and destination port columns, very similar to what we saw within the event viewer. Hoverovers, right clicks, all work in the same way. The application column shows QRadar's best attempt to identify the actual application being used in the conversation or flow that has been observed. The source bytes and destination bytes show you the total number of bytes exchanged. You'll see for some of these flows that there's a letter C in parentheses within the bytes column. This is an indication that for this particular flow record, we actually have captured payload. Although the interface is similar to the event viewer in the Log Activity tab, there are some key differences. The grouping by options, for instance. You'll see here we can actually group by things such as the application. In this particular screenshot, you see now all the flows are organized by application. One note, one application is noted as Other. When you see Other as an application within the flows, that means we weren't able to determine the actual application being used. The other grouping options include union flows. This is important to show. Union flows represent the actual conversation or sessions between two IP addresses. QRadar actually looks at flows within a 1-minute cycle. So flows arrive and are written out every minute, but sessions can be a lot longer than a single minute. Union flows will represent the actual sessions as observed. Other important grouping options are by geographic location. This is good if you want to look at inbound or outbound traffic to geographies which you don't have legitimate business in. While working with flows, you'll notice in the leftmost column that occasionally you might see a red O appear. This is an indication that that particular flow is associated with an offense. Offenses can be accessed by either selecting the flow and then going to the offense, or actually going via the Offense tab itself.